What is going on, everybody? This is the Sport Nerd coming at you live on this lovely Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening, if you're living on the East Coast like I am right here. We have a very, very intriguing topic here today. I think one that most of you guys have very been looking forward for me to doing. So it's finally time to do it because NFL Sundays begin tomorrow. Thursday Night Football out the way. Chiefs 1-0. However, there is some intriguing things about that game that we do need to talk about, and I will get into that within this video. But real quickly, I just want to give what's that?
Last chance, mom's ordering. You sure you don't want to shake?
Yeah, I'm fine.
No shake?
Nope.
Okay.
Thanks. Sorry about that. See a bunch of you guys in there. Joseph, Tyler, Mahir. Joseph, I see a bunch of guys in there already. But before I get into any of this stuff, I do want to remind you guys that if I do see him a little bit hyped up, I did watch that prediction video. So I am sorry about that really quickly. So if I do see him a little bit like higher or I just look a little bit overexcited right now, it's because I do feel very, very overly hyped from that video because that video was just awesome. But let's get into this. So again, if you guys enjoyed this, like, subscribe button down below. Ring that bell to get notified of all my other videos. Share the video out with your friends. Share the prediction video out with your friends. I think that video needs to be trending, and that needs to be trending immediately because that is a hell of a video. That's all I'm going to say. So let's get into this, shall we? So obviously, as you guys can tell by the title up above, that of course the Chiefs are now 1-0, win 34-20, but there is some very intriguing parts about this game. So first things first, I just need to say that there are two different sides to this win. If you were going to go tell me back in time that you were going to tell me that you were only going to win, actually no, scratch that. Tell me you were going to be up 31-7 in the fourth quarter, and then you're going to tell me that there was going to be an entire, almost, not really a comeback, but a surge by the Texans at the end. I'd be like, what is happening with this team? But if I'm looking at this right now, there are two different sides to this. If we first look at the offensive side, let's take a look at that very quickly, because obviously I'm not going to get into the negatives first, because that's, whenever you win, you always want to focus on the positives, and then you want to look at the negatives, then you want to go and fix that your next game. So let's get into that. So I think the biggest, probably the most obvious pro of this entire thing was Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He was filling in a big role, because I think that for him, he needed to basically step into a starting position for a Super Bowl hero running back, in my opinion, in Damian Williams. Now, the good thing is he did run. If I figure this out very quickly, by looking at this right now, I'm not 100% convinced yet, because during the game, he only had 138 yards, only 25 carries. He had 25 carries, only 138 yards, and only one touchdown. But his longest run was 27. Now, that's very good. However, there's something about this defense that is very special. It's not one of the very good defenses in this league. We have a lot of very intriguing defenses on the schedule here. Of course, a lot of other intriguing teams like the Ravens week 3. We got the Saints defense later on in the year. There's a lot of big defenses that we still need to play. The Bills, of course, need to play. The Patriots have an okay defense as well. So I want to see, though, what is going to happen to this run game of Clyde Edwards-Helaire once we face those defenses. Because that's something. Of course, I think that because of the way that this defense was shaken up, is that when we played this defense, I knew that going into it, they were not very good. And I knew that if Helaire can just get off to a very good start, and they get up by a lot, which we actually did, they're just going to run the ball, because they cannot seem to stop him. But I think that, what one of the biggest takeaways from this was it's very good that he was able to run that, but it's not 100% convincing yet. Like, it wasn't a very good defense that he had to face. But the thing is that he needs to go up against a couple other teams that I want to see him prove against, and then I'll have a little bit more faith in him, because this is just one game. He may have just had one of the games of his life now, but then if you wanted to see that this is probably one of the best running backs that we have, then that's 100% what we need to see in future games. Because I'm convinced he can do more, but I need to see more out of him first before I say this is a running back that we need to stick to. We need to run the ball. Now, here's another thing that was very intriguing about this game. Mahomes, of course, stayed healthy. That's obviously a very good thing. He was throwing the ball nicely. He was throwing the ball nicely on the passes that he's made. Threw some good touchdowns. He also got, on a fantasy standpoint, he got me 20 points, which is okay. That's probably for a first game and no preseason. I think that's probably as good as I probably could have asked for, maybe a little bit better. I think that what I do need to say, which I'll get to the negatives in 1 second, is that Mahomes could have had a power, I think, in him that he usually used last year that I think he minimally used this year, but I'll get to that in a second. I mean, minimally used not this year, this game. I'll get to that in a second. Now, focusing on the positives again. What's another great positive from this game? We probably beat a okay defense, but a playoff-bound team. Which I knew going into this is that it's going to be a statement for us to win this game against. They're going to be projected because they're projected to win the division this year, of course. Because they're going to have a battle for it, but I'm picking them to win the division this year. But I knew that going into this game that they were going up against a sort of playoff-bound team, and then still had to make a statement, which I think is what happened. So that's what I found from there. So those are some of that already. So if I had to get into that, that was probably the biggest one. Obviously, was Clyde just running like basically crazy. That's basically what we can take away from this. And also Mahomes making some good throws. We also know that there's potential in the offense. I know that there's still a mojo in the offense that we're not 100% falling apart yet, even though Damian Williams, as of now, has not affected us. We'll see that in future games, which I actually want to see, especially Week 3 against the Ravens. And then the other one that we need to say is that we beat probably a playoff-bound team, which is a very good thing. So next up, before I get to the negatives part of this, let's get to the ugly part of this. There's really one main thing that was ugly. And that's not obviously some other bad things on the defensive side. So most of the offense, basically, if you had to say, was got their mojo back. They were pretty good. Now, the issue of this game, for both the bad and the ugly, was the defense. The defensive side of the ball. Obviously, heading into this game, Jones, Clark, then, of course, all those guys were on the line, of course. But, obviously, the linebacking crew was an issue, I think. Because there were some passes that they let... Like, David Johnson had a lot of rushing yards. This is something that I really feel like was not very good about this. Is that maybe it's their offensive line, because I think they have an okay offensive line, although I don't think they have the best one. But some of those runs that David Johnson had, I think got way too far and could easily have been stopped. Now, you could argue that he probably went off. That's a very reasonable argument. But what I do want to say here is that while he was phenomenal. He had a very good game. I think that some of those long carries that he had, could have been taken away because of the defensive side of the ball being very terrible this game. Being very somewhat bad this game. Now, that brings me to my negative for this one. Looking at the defensive side of the ball, the biggest blow was obviously was obviously going to be Charvarius Ward. Charvarius Ward went out in the second half of the hand injury. Breeland is already suspended. Very weak at cornerback right now. Because right now we're looking at Snead and Fenton as the cornerbacks until Game 5 when Breeland comes back. Now, Breeland is going to be a difference maker. And I'm just saying this right now that, I wasn't expecting much from Fenton. He did make a couple good plays, but I was not expecting a lot from him because he was filling in for a big gap in the cornerback crew, which is Bashaud Breeland. But the ugly part was him going out with a fractured hand. That was a big blow because us already being down one of our starting corners, then losing the other one, was a pretty big blow. Now, could you say, though, that he could play through this? I think he may, because I've seen situations like this happen before. However, he had LASIK surgery this past summer. He wanted to play a lot better. I think that even though if he does play through this, he's not going to be at full potential. He got LASIK surgery this past summer because he thought that it would improve his game and get him some more picks. So essentially, he gave it to him because he wanted to improve himself better. Essentially, with this fractured hand, his potential is going down just a little bit. So what I'm just trying to say to you here is that although he has gone out, he could still play through this. He will not, and I mean not, be at full potential. So if I had to say that he was okay for basically a cornerback for this game, he didn't make the best kind of plays, but I think that what you need to take from this is he will not be at full potential because he had LASIK surgery. He wanted to improve himself better. The hand, he went out with a fractured hand, has to have surgery on it. So now he's probably not going to be at full strength. So do I think his season is pretty much over? No. I think he will still play a couple games. Or probably will play the games, is what I'm trying to say here. But what I do want to say is that even though he does have a fractured hand, and he had LASIK surgery this past summer, he will not be at full potential the way he wants to be. And I think that's the biggest blow from this game. He's losing your left corner is already out because he was suspended for drugs. That's in Bashaud Breeland. Then your right corner in Charvarius Ward is obviously going out because of a fractured hand injury in the second half. So what I'm trying to say here is I think that the cornerback group needs some work. And then we'll get to that in a little bit. Thirdly, another good positive from this game was I think Snead and Kelsey Osemele was proven as of now. It's not 100% yet. We're just saying this as of now. We're going to do this one every week as of now. But what we need to take from this is they've done good so far, but they need to prove themselves a little bit more. And that's what I want to see in the upcoming weeks. Because these first two games are is quote-unquote easy for us, is what I'm saying. But what I want to say is, if I could see that we do it a little bit more, and then prove ourselves there, at that point in time, the next couple of weeks, of course, versus the Ravens, versus the Patriots, the Bills, of course, are going to be coming in. So we got a couple of good defenses coming our way. So that's going to be those three games. Week 3 at Baltimore, Monday Night Football. Week 4 versus the Patriots in a national window, 1:25 Pacific time, or 4:25 Eastern time, aka my time. And then thirdly, versus the Bills. So those are going to be of 3 of the biggest tests so far early on in the season that I want to see. Other than that, what else can we improve from this game? Well, obviously, what we need to learn is Mahomes did not throw the ball a lot. I feel like there was something from this game that if he would have thrown to a lot, we could have scored a lot more. He did throw the ball. He did have some passing touchdowns in this game. But maybe because Hilaire went off, basically, I think it took away from him reaching his... Because, Mahomes is very mobile. He can run the ball very well himself. But what we need to know is that Hilaire was basically the guy of this game. He was the one that basically went off and was basically not stopped. I think that what we're going to see, and I'm really hoping this happens, not just from a fantasy standpoint, but just to get more players involved. Because, first of all, Hill did not have a lot of targets in this game. If you look back at this, look at the box score of this entire game. What you basically can say from this is that some of the guys that we did not think were going to get the targets that we wanted them to have got the targets. Now, obviously, what we need to take from this is that they weren't bad. They did get some good things from this. But if you're looking at the box score right now, Hill only was targeted 6 times in this game. Watkins was targeted the most times in this game. Now, the good thing about Watkins, by the way, he was 7 for 9 on targets, which is very good. But what I do need to say is that I think that in the future, it's not going to be the same because of these defenses we're going to have to go up against. And I hope that he gets more players involved. Like, for example, if you're looking at this, McCall Hardeman, was only targeted once. Demarcus Robinson was targeted 6. We have a lot of good guys on here. Watkins got targeted 9, which is very good. Kelsey was targeted 6. He got 6. Hill was targeted 6 times, had 5 catches, which is very good. But I think that he could have been targeted a little bit more because I think he was open. Maybe he was guarded too well, but I think that Hill could be targeted a little bit more in the future. And then Robinson only got 3 catches, was targeted 6 times. So the other thing I do want, that's that. Now, obviously, looking at Mahomes' stats, the good thing about him, and this is the positive for Mahomes so far, is that what I need to say is, if you look at the final stats here, he went 24-32, very good. Had 100. Wow, wait, hold on a minute. Wait. Okay, there we go. Okay, my bad. I thought it was lagging out for 1 second. As I was saying, Mahomes was 24 of 32, so basically completed 3/4 of his passes. He completed 3/4 of his passes. He had 211 yards, 6.6 yards averaged, 3 touchdowns, only sacked once, 90% QB rating, and only was sacked 1 time, and was not picked off once. Very good. Those are good stats. However, I think that the one thing we did not see from this game, which I really was hoping I would see, is an equal balance between Mahomes and Hilaire running the ball. Hilaire was basically the one running the ball. And I think that even though he wasn't stopped, I think that Mahomes is a generational player in my opinion because, first of all, he's very accurate on passes. Essentially, when he can throw a ball very deep down the field, and he has a lot of good speed on his side, so he's able to get those players down the field on those long routes and throw very good deep balls. That's number one. He's very mobile. Other than Lamar Jackson, basically, he's probably the fastest quarterback in the game. So he's able to run on basically a lot of different plays and be a basically like a double, triple threat, basically. Third, he basically was the guy that could also have a lot of targets to throw to. So he can be very versatile, which I really like about this team and on this offense. One of the things that you guys struggle with, and I really want to relate to this, and I hope you guys do this tomorrow, is the offense, and I agree with Noah on this one, the offense needs to be multidimensional. Yesterday, I don't think it was 100% multidimensional because Hilaire was basically the one taking over the game. So I don't think that I wanted to say that I think he's going to need to be you guys are going to need to take from this game right now is, although if your runner does like Carson, if he keeps on pounding the ball very well and he cannot be stopped, that's very good. But I think another way you guys can get more guys in the game is also, like basically what we should have done a little bit more was let Russ cook, which you guys are obviously going to be talking about for basically all this week. Now, another thing, just to get my last point out here, is wow. I mean, this. If I look at these who standed out in this game? Obviously, Matthew had a very good game. He had 8 total tackles, 6 solo tackles, and had 1 quarterback hit, which is a very good thing. Chris Jones also had a very good game. He had 4 tackles, 3 solo tackles, had 1.5 sacks, and a half a forced fumble with 2 quarterback hits. That's also very good, I think. Same with Frank Clark, your former defensive end, had a sack in this game as well. Okafor also had a half a sack in this game. So the good thing about this is what we're seeing right now is those 3 guys up there. We got Clark had a sack, Jones had 1.5 sacks. I hope I'm saying that right. And then we had Okafor also had a half a sack. That's very good. That means that the line is also getting into the flow, which is also very good. Now, I think that what are the biggest, looking ahead to the next game now, we're going to, so that's my points on that game. If you guys have any other opinions, any other questions for me, leave them in the chat while I look ahead to this next game right here. Now, if you look at this schedule right here, we are facing the Chargers in LA next week on Sunday. This is probably an easy win here. Excuse me. But what we do need to know is that I want to see a very high, like more usage of spreading it out, because this offense is so open because of all the receiving talent with the runners, with Kelsey, Mahomes, and that line, obviously protecting Mahomes. Now, what we do need to think about this is that I think that we want to see, and I want to see, have Mahomes, let Mahomes cook a little bit more. Basically, what I want him to do is to spread the ball out. Give it some to Hill, give some to Hardeman, give some to Watkins, give some to Robinson, give some to Kelsey. Spread the ball around, give some to Hilaire. Do those things, and that way we can just make sure that they don't know what's coming. Because I'm just saying right now, if they knew that we were going to be running the ball a lot of those times, we probably could have gotten stopped and would not have scored this many points. Luckily, they were not able to stop him. But especially this game coming up, which could happen, all right? Although they're not the best defense in the league, we don't want to be too predictable. Because if we're too predictable, it will become a pattern. They will know what's coming. They'll prepare for it, and they'll get the stops that they need. That's not good, because what we do want to happen is us to spread it out, have a very multidimensional offense, and then that way we can always make sure that they're on their toes and not know what's going to come. Because I think that is what's going to lead for us, especially the Chiefs Kingdom, and especially this team, to succeeding later on in the year. Because we're going to go up against a lot of teams, including, but not limited to, the Ravens, all very, very good offensive team, very good balanced team. Patriots, a good defense so far. Buffalo, good defense. We also got Tampa Bay, a very good team, I think, this year. New Orleans, a good defense. The Falcons later on in the year, which I think probably could bring us some trouble. We also got the Broncos, which I think could be probably a sleeper. But there are some teams that I think that we will probably need to spread the ball out more versus those teams. And that's going to be the key to this game. The defense, so that's the key for the offense in this game is what I meant to say. Defensively, what else am I supposed to say? Better communication, number 1. I mean, I cannot tell you guys how mad I was when I kept on seeing those linebackers not communicating well. Like, there are so many things I think that Hitchens, Wilson, and those guys could have done a little bit better if they would just communicate a little bit better. And I think they easily will do that. Hopefully they will do that in the future. But what I do want to see is that the defense needs to be on point. Because you guys know that these teams like crossing routes. We have a veteran safety group. And I want, like Tyrann Mathieu, Sorensen, and Thornhill. Those guys, I want to be communicating with each other. Because I think that if we are able to communicate with the entire offense a lot better, and we're all in sync, then that way we will know exactly what we want to do, and everyone will know what to do for that specific play. And I want that for every single play I see. Because I think that if we just look at this as a good starting point, that's a good starting point. But we do have some stuff that we do need to fix, and we should probably fix it in order for us to be able to be successful in these upcoming games against tougher opponents. So those are my points there. If you guys want me to get some other things out here. So obviously, Nora's prediction video was released today. And very, very, very exciting video to watch, I just have to say. That went in legit, alright? So, if I had to say, if there was one video that I would love to see a little bit better, not a little bit better. If there's one video that was better than the other, it was this video. He pulled 2 all-nighters to put this in. So, and I think that this has made me look at him as basically someone to appreciate for what he does. Because he's someone who puts in the time for us because we want to see it. That's what I take away from this. So that's like my broad. Now, I'm going to give myself my quick opinions on this because I just wanted to get this out there. I know you guys may want to hear this, so I'm going to give my opinions out to you guys. Just let me collect my thoughts. Give me a second. Okay. So, obviously, the video, 9.5 out of 10. Because what I think was probably the most intriguing thing was, and I think what he could have just improved very quickly before I wrap this up, is to spread out the songs a little bit more. So that way we are able to hear a little bit more, because I feel like some of the songs, it was like one song into another song into another song. And then that was basically how it was. I mean, there were 16 songs. Don't get me wrong. But I think that if he spread it out just a little bit more, it would have been a lot better. So that's it, guys. Until next time, so hit like button, subscribe, ring that bell, get notified about my other videos, share this video with your friends. And until next time, my name is the Sports Nerd. Want to know, baby? Let's keep it going. Go Chiefs, and go Cougs.